The Stanley Cup is set, and it's a pleasure to welcome in former Panther and Panthers broadcaster Bill Lindsay to look ahead to the championship series. Bill, it's great to talk to you again. Exciting times down in South Florida again.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. It's good to be on. It's very exciting down in South Florida. Had that big run last year. The buzz was around, and could they back it up? It was a mission statement right from training camp from Paul Maurice, the whole team, Matthew Tkachuk, Barkov. They were not happy with the way last year ended, and they said it was all about redemption this year, and they were able to get back to the second. We went all those years with all that futility. Now we get back-to-back chances at the Stanley Cup.
Well, last year was such a wild run. I mean, I still remember Brad Marchand with, 5-6 seconds left in Game 5 of the Boston series with a breakaway where he scores, it's curtains, and the Panthers are out in 5. And yet they come back in that series. They make it all the way to the finals. I imagine this does feel different, though, this year, considering what the team had done in the past and the expectations that they had earned with their play in the playoffs last year, but also a very, very solid regular season.
Yeah, it's hugely different. Biggest difference from last year was Paul Maurice comes in, wants to change the identity of the team and the structure. And it took about to Christmas, the New Year, and then especially after the All-Star break for the team to grasp onto everything, where they got dialed in. And then it became a chase. They were playing playoff hockey after the All-Star break all the way to game number 81, 82 to just scrape their way into the playoffs. And they were able to get there, but there was a heavy workload at tax. That Boston series, the 7 games, wildly entertaining, but it took a huge toll on the Panthers. They continued with the Leafs, Carolina. Once they got to Vegas and got to the Stanley Cup championship, they were over the moon, but they were put together with duct tape. You had Ekblad with the ankle, Montour with the shoulder, Tkachuk the sternum. So coming in training camp this year, they knew who they were. The DNA was there. Paul Maurice ran them hard. They get Mikkola. They get Oliver Ekman-Larsson, they get Kulikov because of the injuries at the start of the year. They get off to a good start. They're rolling right around Thanksgiving. Looks like they're going to be on the trajectory to get in the playoffs. And towards the end of the year, they knew they were going to be there. So all of a sudden, everything became about the playoffs this year and the focus and the mindset. And if you had a hangnail in game number 75 this year, you weren't playing. It was simple as that. Ekblad rested down the stretch. Verhaeghe, healthy. Let's go. And on the big Jumbotron at the start of the playoffs, it said redemption. I was like, whoa, that's a pretty bold statement to have up there. But that's this team. Once it got there, it's more serious than last year. It's business-like, its approach. They're happy to get back to the Stanley Cup, but this team wants the Cup. Last year, there was more of a euphoria around winning the Eastern Conference. More, it's like, okay, we did it. Now it's time to get on to the real business.
Bill, obviously, we know Paul very well here in Winnipeg from his time with the Winnipeg Jets, and he still has lots of fans here. How much of Paul Maurice is the identity of the Panthers? I mean, how big a part of shaping the Panthers has been on the head coach?
A lot. The last year, I talked about those systems. It was run and gun when we won the President's Trophy, lost in the second round at Tampa Bay. He comes in and he runs a left wing lock, or a lock, just a lock on the one side with the winger through the neutral zone. He wanted to get to defensive structure. We dump it in more than any other team in the NHL. We throw it in, we get heavy on the forecheck, back to the points. We're the best screen team in the NHL. It's rebounds. And he thought that was going to be the key to how this team was going to have to play, not only in the regular season, but to have playoff success. And it translated. Now that was in place, everything was all systems go this year. So that he was able to just mold and craft that. And what's happened this year, I'm talking to Paul with everything that's gone done, is that the team is self-sustaining. Especially at this point of the year, because of the leadership, Barkov, Tkachuk, everyone works so hard. that it just filters down through the lineup. If you don't play and you don't go 100 miles an hour and buy into these systems, you're not in the lineup. So Paul Maurice has actually said, coming into this postseason, my coaching was done, and I knew I had a dressing room that can take care of itself. I can push buttons and tweak things here and there, but he put it and he established exactly who the Panthers are. Forecheck heavy, strong defense, and they just don't change. If you don't play that way, you're not in. So a lot of what Paul Maurice has done is the identity of this team. And it goes to the players. It's like a pack of wolves now. It's one for all and all for one.
He also absolutely loves the edge that this team plays with. I can remember him coming into Winnipeg and kind of, remaking this team, in his own vision. And part of that was being one of the most heavily penalized teams in the league. I mean, they played on the edge and often over it. It seems like the Panthers have established that they can mix it up with pretty much anyone. And right now in the playoffs, I mean, as much as they've been physical, it's not like they've had to rely consistently on their penalty kill to survive games, because it just seems like they're better at it. They know who they are, and they're able to play at that level and not do anything stupid that can cost you.
Yeah, Paul Maurice said last year that team needed that over the edge, kind of the scrums after the whistles. That kind of really got the fire underneath them. This year, with what happened, he said coming into the playoffs, guys, if we get into scrums with what everyone knows about us, if we throw the extra punch, we're getting penalized. The referees are aware of how we play, and the stuff it has to be between the whistles. The scrums, make sure you don't throw the extra punch. You can still get in there. You can yap. You can chirp. But it's go, and it's physical. Bennett, he's going to try and he train wrecks someone every game. If you're going to beat the Panthers the way they play, they're going to take a pound of flesh off you, and you're going to have to find a way through it. There's no way around it. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a hard physical brand that the Panthers play. It's grind, it's go, and in these playoffs, a lot of it has been done between the whistles, but it's mean, it's nasty, and it's hard to play that way. That's why the buy-in from everyone has to be complete to do that. But to your point, a lot of it this year, it's a more business-like approach between the whistles. Let's go, stay out of the scrums, and they have been able to stay out of the penalty box up to this point, which is going to be critical into this next series. We know about that Edmonton power play.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Listen, before we get to the final, I do want to ask, I mean, listen, we know about Barkov, who I would imagine is probably the favorite for the Conn Smythe right now if the Panthers win. Reinhart and Tkachuk and Bennett. Carter Verhaeghe is a player that took a very different path to being an impact first-line player on a cup-challenging team. He seems like the most clutch guy. I mean, I know it's sort of cliche, but every time this team needs a big goal, he seems to be in and around the net and getting it done. I mean, what have you seen from him since he arrived in Florida to turn into the impact player that he is right now for the Panthers?
So he's a big junior scorer, then had that big year in the American Hockey League, gets a chance in Tampa Bay, wins the Stanley Cup as a fourth liner in Tampa Bay. And that's where part of the analytics dove in. They found out when they looked at him, he wins every puck battle, every race. He creates a lot of scoring chances in limited minutes. Let's bring him to our team. Let's give him a top six role and see if he can produce at a top six role. So he gets here his first year. He puts up 20 plus goals, all at even strength. He's not getting power play time, but he drives offense. He's got a motor that just never quits. Fast skater, quick release. Builds on that. Second, third, he starts to get some second power play duty, and still contributes. And then last year, he gets to 40 goals, and he's on the second power play unit. And he continued all his line mates, whether he plays with different combinations, but he's the force. He just doesn't lose puck battles. And when it gets critical at times, he wants the puck on his stick. And come into this year, he finally made it to the first power play.
Got to
So
score
this is
40 first before you get that shot.
yeah. So he's worked so darn hard at everything. Nothing was given to him, but they looked at the type of player that he was. And the playoffs last year were stellar. The same thing this year. He's a player that is internally motivated, and the Panthers have a lot. They have a lot of internal drive in themselves to be great. And Carter Verhaeghe fits that bill just kind of because of the trajectory of how he had to get from where he was to where he is now.
Bill, the other guy that, I mean, listen, if you weren't familiar with Gustav Forsling before the playoffs, and you've been watching the Panthers, you certainly are now. We were going through his numbers last week on the program because it was brought up that he was on waivers, and we kind of went through his path, and he was picked by Vancouver, and he was Chicago, and now he's playing number one minutes against the top matchups, scoring, and the plus 56 plus minus. I know we don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I mean, that is just an absolutely obscene number. And he seems to stand out each and every night, not only defensively, but doing things offensively.
He's plus 12 in the playoffs to go with that plus 56 going against Kucherov and Point in the first round, Pasternak and Marchand in the second round, had to go against Panarin, Zibanejad, all those guys in the third round, and continues to put up points. So Gustav Forsling, Paul Maurice had an interesting comment when we picked him up on waivers, and when he was in Winnipeg, he said, I'm not sure. He's so slight. I'm not sure what the Panthers are quite doing there. Slight of build, doesn't seem to have the physical presence. He's a good skater. But then once he got here to Florida and witnessed Gustav Forsling, and Gustav Forsling got bigger and he got stronger as a person, as an athlete, and he was able to show off his skating ability, his pivoting, his gap control, and Paul said it's almost comical in practice when players go on 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s, the way that he breaks up plays just with his stick and goes. So Gustav Forsling, I've been able to watch it, but he has such dynamic skating ability, and he led the team in everything through the charts with all the off-ice conditioning at training camp.
Maurice will love that.
Yes, yeah. So there's some comparisons to a poor man Scott Niedermayer, the way they plays. It looks effortless at times, and he jumps up in the play, but he has gap control to study and with his stick work, and then the ability now with the more confidence to get up into the rush and join the play. If it's a 2-on-2, make it a 3-on-2, 4-on-3, get shots through from the point. He is and he's tough. There's not the fighting toughness or the body checking, but I've seen Gustav Forsling take pucks in the face off the shin pads, go into the dressing room, and I'm like, oh gosh, we don't have Forsling anymore. 2 minutes later, he's on the ice. So it's a battle, a warrior mentality, and it's the same thing as Carter Verhaeghe. He's had to earn every inch of it, and it's become special to just watch his trajectory and get him on this big stage for everyone to see. We've seen it internally with the Panthers up close and personal, but now that the focus is there, you can see how marvelous of a player Gustav Forsling is.
Just before I ask you about the Oilers, from your perspective, how much more prepared are the Panthers to win the final series this year than maybe they were last year in that first trip to the final as a group?
Light years ahead. This team, with what they've been through and the confidence, and there's pressure, but there's a lot of talk of joy at this time of year. So to get last year was a big learning curve. It helped, and now they're prepared. They know what to expect, and they know how to attack and what they want to be. So that's going to play a huge part of what they have going forward into this Stanley Cup Final. Their mindset, it's all about. So last year against Vegas, it was, yeah, it's happy. Everything happens kind of quick. It's just everything that they've gone through has prepared them more. So I think this situation is just so much different. It's than last year's, just with the way the team is built and what the focus is and the health. We're healthy like every across the board. And you get the day's rest now. You're going to hit the ground running almost as fresh as you've ever been throughout you not even the regular season but playoffs. This team is going to be clicking on all cylinders once they drop that puck.
Bill, before we go, I've got to ask you about this matchup, and it's a very different one than last season. I mean, last year you had sort of the two deepest, snarliest teams that played a pretty similar style of hockey. This year it's the Panthers going up against the Edmonton Oilers, who are a very different team than Florida. What do you make of Edmonton and what you've seen so far from them through the playoffs and the challenge that they will pose the Eastern Conference champs?
Well, beyond Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, we know what they bring to the table. You're going to have to, you can't stop them, but you got to have to be able to contain them. But the thing that's really impressive there with Chris Knobloch and Paul Coffey and the whole coaching crew is that they have been able to really work into their depth forwards. Their second, third, and fourth lines have played more of a role. There's more of a balance to the Oilers. Bouchard, the defenseman, they commit more to defensively. The question mark is this Panther team. They're going to get 30, 35 shots a night. There's no way around it. So does Stuart Skinner hold up? And if the Panthers, this is the one series you have to stay out of the penalty box. That power play is just too lethal, and whatever you do, they're gonna come after you. So that power play can be dangerous. Can you be physical against them? Can you shut them down and just moderate their scoring and make it look like you did against a lot of the other teams? If that happens, then this Panther team, you saw the third period against what Dallas did to Edmonton in the second and late in the second and third periods in last night's game. The Panthers have the ability to get to that kind of level and do that kind of stuff consistently. If that happens, then the Panthers are on their game and they're going to give Edmonton a real handful. The other way, the quick strike ability can happen. It's just keeping up with this. To me, the question is, can the Oilers stay with the Panthers for 60 minutes? Is their best equal to the Panthers' best?
Hey, before we go, what's the buzz like around South Florida right now? I mean, I think the Panthers sort of surprised everyone this year. They made a lot of new fans. I imagine it's going to be a madhouse come Saturday. But are you feeling it around the community right now with people really excited to see whether this team can bring a championship to South Florida?
It's huge. It's massive. We have great crowds all season long. We had between 17 and 19,000 every night. Even when a team, Winnipeg, it didn't matter, Ottawa came in, we had the building, and it's been jam full. And the difference this year is the Miami Heat made the NBA Finals last year. And so we had a little cross with the Heat, but it's all Panthers this year. The Heat are eliminated. We got all CBS, ABC, NBC. All of them are down covering half hour pregame shows. So everything is late, just all about the Panthers. You go everywhere. There's on talk radio. This is back to when we had it booming in the early 90s. They've got it back, and you win down there. There's an electricity. I know that Edmonton and all across Canada has exploded with the Oilers being in the Cup, and that's fun. And I'm glad to see a Canadian team, and I love Edmonton. But for us down in South Florida, we've been able to build the trust of the fan base back, and it's come back in a huge way.
Well, I know that there's a lot of people pulling for the Oilers across the country. I'll tell you, there's a lot of people around here pulling for Paul Maurice and our old buddy Kevin Stenlund as well. What a season Stenny had. He sort of came. Was he a surprise to you guys?
So thank goodness for him on the penalty kill. Big, strong. He led that fourth line. He gets rotating wingers around him, but he's been the consistent. And when Bennett was out, we had to use him on the third line in the Boston series for a few games. I love the way they play. It's consistent. Yeah, you know exactly what you're getting from that big guy. And they needed to improve the penalty kill. And the two players, Mikkola and Stenlund, have been the two driving factors on the Panthers penalty kill.
Yeah, well, he was missed on the Jets penalty kill this year. Let's just say that. Bill, thanks so much. Grab an extra buck for that long flight going to Edmonton for games 3 and 4. But enjoy the finals, and thank you so much for the time. Cannot wait for things to get going when they drop the puck Saturday.
All right, Andrew, I appreciate it very much, and all the best, and we'll look forward to it.
Cheers.